How how does MindPeer basically, how did you even get the idea of kind of, okay, I get it, you have like a background in tech and everything, so it made sense to combine mental health with tech, but how do
Mhm.
you use technology in with context to MindPeers or mental health to make mental health more accessible and affordable for everyone?
Yep, so there are a lot of ways to do that, right? I'm just going to name a few things that we have been doing using technology. So the very first one is that a biggest problem with mental health is that if you are going to find help, right, how do you know who is the right therapist for you? And we guys are making that possible through tech because we have like a AI powered engine which basically understands the user behaviors, their choices and all of that. And we sort of match you to the most accurate therapist possible. So currently that algorithm works with about 97% accuracy. So that's one way in which technology is helping to make mental health at least more qualitative and accessible, right? The second thing is that it's a very fundamental issue which a lot of us don't understand. So I'm sure a lot of people who are attending this might be aware that India has a huge shortage of psychologists, right? So for every 1,000 people who need help today, there is only one psychologist who's available, right? So there is a supply problem, but then there is a huge demand of the same. Now, why? How can we actually solve it in a very focused way? Is that let's say today you need help, and but you are not going through something critical. Probably the help you need can be solved by just a general counselor, right? But then you are not aware of that, and what will happen is that you will end up probably booking a very experienced senior psychologist who is meant for severe conditions, correct? And in that case, what's happening is resources are being used up in the wrong way. So what we are doing here is that there are ways, technology ways, like we have tests in place, we have neuroscience games in place. We're trying to assess the person's health before they go to a human, before they go to a therapist, to be able to decide that number one, whether they really need a therapist or not. Number two, if they need a therapist, then can they do with a junior therapist, right? So that the senior therapist can be used for people who need more severe, solutions, who need a more severe help. So in this way, when you're able to put the resources where they have to be, you're able to balance the demand and supply, because of which the price of therapy automatically starts to come down, right? So imagine if 30 people are in need of a senior psychologist who charges 4,000 rupees per hour, right? But then if there is more demand, that psychologist will start to charge even more. But then the question is that do all the 30 people need that kind of senior psychologist or not, right? So technology is basically helping to solve in all these manners. There are so many things that you can do before you even get to the therapist using technology.
That is honestly really great. Like, I know so many people who would benefit off of that kind of setup, because I know people who go through two, three psychologists trying to find the right one.
Yes,
So this is
correct.
great, honestly. Okay, so naturally, another question that comes along with this is like, what were some of the initial challenges that you faced, while uh, building MindPeers, and how did you overcome them? Both in terms of like societal norms when it comes to mental health, and then
Mhm.
combining it with like technology, so that's another thing for you to overcome.
Yeah. So look, just like how in all businesses there are issues, or issues in the sense that you will feel struggles in every step, right? So I'll tell you first the general ones that was here as well, like which I also face. Good quality hiring. Now we always need people who are, let's say, data scientists, but they also understand a bit of healthcare. And in India,
Right.
healthcare has still not reached the quality that it generally should have, right? Healthcare is still on a very nascent stage in our country, right? So hiring of good people, um, making sure that you are able to also educate people and remove the stigma. That was another struggle we had to go through. Number three is convincing investors that mental health will work. So fundraising is not an easy process, especially for healthcare companies in India, right? So I would say these would be some of the struggles. The later on struggles that come up once your company starts to grow is how do you scale, right? Scaling is a big issue. How do you make sure that your platforms have been, your technology platforms have been streamlined, they have been basically, made in a way that you can take the scale that is coming with the lowest cost. So optimizing costs, optimizing platforms, hiring, keeping your employees motivated, getting the right funds, making sure that you have product market fit. These are all the kind of general struggles which I feel every entrepreneur faces.
Fair enough, absolutely. So I'm given to understand that like MindPeers came about from your personal motivation and advocacy towards mental health, right? So, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's struggling with their mental health, but can't, for whatever reason, be able to seek help? That sort of thing. So, how do you think?
Yeah, great one. So I think the first thing that I want to tell everyone is please don't be ashamed of it, right? Uh, Feeling ashamed or feeling guilty that how can I go through a mental health problem, or if we start to self-judge ourselves, uh, it's the worst thing that we can do to ourselves. That's the first thing.
Absolutely.
Second
Yeah.
thing is when you are going to seek help, make sure that you are being very cautious about the quality that you're going for. So I would say these are the two things. One, don't feel ashamed about mental health issues. Accept them proudly. They are a part of you just like how physical health problems are. So don't feel guilty about it or don't feel ashamed about it. And the second would be that when you are seeking for help, firstly, you should seek help, right? And don't let it be a silent sort of a treatment. Do seek help, and when you're seeking help, please make sure that you're getting qualitative help.
Yes, that is absolutely completely agree with you there, honestly. So, having been in this kind of sector of the mental health sphere in India, so can you tell us about some of the common mental health challenges that people face, and how do you think they should be addressed?
Yeah, I think common challenges that people are facing in mental health, I think first is again being judged by the society, the stigma,
Yeah.
right? But like I said, Gen Zs, millennials, we are bringing the change and we should openly accept it, right? We should not be ashamed about it anymore. The second, I would like to specifically talk about what is it that has come out when it comes to mental health issues. We have so many people who go through loneliness. And when we go through loneliness, we feel I'm the only one who's going through it. I'm the only one who doesn't have anyone to share my things with or hang out with or someone to understand me. But the surprising factor is that about 1 in 3 people are going through loneliness despite social media, despite being so connected through technology. So I think the second insight would be that loneliness is very real,
That's
right?
very true.
It's just not in our head. It's very much real. So that's the other bit that I would want to bring out. Um, Besides that, I think the other third struggle that I can talk about is you already said it, Megha, yourself, which is able to find the right therapist for yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, but like what you said, solidarity is like so important when it comes to mental health, knowing that you're not alone out there. So, matlab, obviously, considering that we are here and we're talking about it, we have to kind of, think of it in terms of that mental health awareness and treatment. It's evolving, right? Mental
Yeah,
health care is evolving. So,
correct.
how do you envision mind peers kind of playing a role in that evolution? And
Hmm.
what is like? Obviously, there is that optimistic future that we see where mental health is, normalized.
Sure.
Talking about mental health is normalized, but
Hmm.
how do you think we move towards that kind of a future vision as well?
Sure. So I'll tell you three things here. Okay. The first is It is so good to see that more and more people are coming forward. And we
That's
need
true.
to continue doing that, right? I see young moms now talking about postpartum depression. I now see college students saying, I'm feeling anxious, I'm traumatic, I'm going through this, that. I see early age employees in companies, talking about the issues that they're going through. So more people are coming forward. And I think that's a great step. The second thing that I want to talk about, Megha, is that what are we doing in MindPeers which is helping to reach a particular vision? So, see, one thing that I want to bring out is that MindPeers is making measurement of mental health possible. So today,
Right.
if you use the app, you can actually measure your brain performance. And the
Okay.
reason how it can solve a few things is number one, people who thought mental health is a stigma, or people who make mental health a stigma, do that because they don't know that mental health also has a science behind it. Mind also has a science behind it, right? And
Absolutely.
because we
Yeah.
don't understand that there is a science behind it, we come up with all these solutions, go for a walk, anxiety ठीक हो जाएगी, कम खाना
Right.
खाओ, रात को फोन छोड़ दो, right? So we come up with all these solutions as if there is no science to the mind, but there is a science to the mind. And by allowing people to be able to measure, right, what is going inside their mind, what we're trying to do is that tomorrow, Megha, I can actually now show it to you in a report with data, that if I tell you that I have anxiety, you will believe me because now I can show it to you that this is what my medical report says about my anxiety, about my mind. And probably then you will believe me that yes, she is right because now I can see scientific parameters behind it. And you will not anymore say that, hey, Kanika, go for a walk, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the vision that we guys are trying to achieve and the way we are trying to change things is that we are using neuroscience, and with the help of technology and neuroscience, we are basically making the possibility of measuring your mental health possible, right? So that people start believing in it, people are able to track their progress, and people don't anymore say that, oh, this is all in your head.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
That
yeah,
is.
so that's the thing that we're trying to do here.
Oh, yeah. So, matlab, on an individual or like an organizational level, what is the best, mental health support initiatives that you can take, and kind of, what can you do to reduce the stigma around mental health so much? Is like, of course, there's talking about it, but that's on an individual level, I would say. What do you think is there to do on a more organizational, on a more large
So
scale?
look at what, I mean, I can only give you an example of our clients, right? Our clients are universities, our clients are companies who are taking these services up. They are educating their leadership. Universities are educating their professors how to identify, how to recognize if your student or if your employees are going through something, providing them the help, doing more conversations within the organization, being empathetic, being kind. So tomorrow, if you are my boss and I come to you and say that, hey, Megha, I'm not feeling too well and I want to take a mental health leave. By just being supportive of that, Megha, you're helping to make it less of a stigma, correct? So,
Absolutely.
so just by being empathetic, understanding psychological first aid, just like how we अंडरस्टैंड फिजिकल फर्स्ट एड, राइट? कितने लोगों को आता है कि कैसे हम लोगों को किसी को फर्स्ट एड प्रोवाइड करना है, डेटॉल लगाना है, सब कुछ देना है, बट हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस नो हाउ टू डू साइकोलॉजिकल फर्स्ट एड? So today, if a friend comes to me and says that, hey, I'm suddenly having panic attacks, what should I say to the person? What should I do to the person? What are the right words? What are the right statements to use? No one knows that. So I
That's true.
think the way organizations, universities, schools can make a shift is that they start to recognize the importance by introducing programs like these, which can educate people. It all starts with psychoeducation.
That's very true. So, in that sense, like, is there any kind of new or innovative mental health technology or ideas that MindPeers is currently developing?
So like the ones that I told you, right? Those are all the innovative stuff that we're doing. And besides that, of course, the kind of campaigns that we run, we try to partner with a lot of cafes. We partner with restaurants so that when people are ordering, when people are eating their food, they also see a lot of collaterals that talk about mental health. That if you're taking care of your stomach, take care of your mind also, and things like that. So everything that I have just told you that we're doing in terms of tools, etc., like other initiatives that MindPeers is taking to bring the change.
Makes sense. Okay. So I'm on to saving kind of the big question for the last kind of a thing. So tell me, as a woman entrepreneur in the tech industry, what advice would you offer to the to other women looking to start their own ventures or pursue leadership roles in tech? Because we know how the industry is, and what has been your experience in it. I would really like to know about that.
So, see, if I talk about my experience, Megha, whether be it age, whether be it gender, I have never let anyone bring that in between with my work, right? And a lot of times when I always tell people that I see myself as an entrepreneur, I don't see myself as a woman entrepreneur. So I think first it's on us women and girls, that we need to remove all these blockages from our head. That hey, I'm a woman entrepreneur, will the society accept me or not? Right? Please, it all starts from us. So stop considering yourself as a woman entrepreneur or as a female leader in an organization. Start to treat yourself equally in your head first. Only then outside people are going to view you. If you have the confidence, you have the belief, that's how people are going to see you from outside. Okay. And the second
Right.
thing that I'm going to say, which is going to sound very general, is if you know you're right, if you know you are doing right, if you know you are working hard towards your goals, don't ever let anyone disrespect you. Whether a woman entrepreneur or not, that does not come in the way. If you set your boundary to not let anyone disrespect you, nothing wrong can happen to you.
That is absolutely true. Completely agree with you. Okay, so now we have the audience can ask questions if they like. So let's just see if someone's there. So we have a question here. What do you think? How will the job of a therapist be affected by AI?
What do you think? How will the job of a therapist be affected by AI? So, great question. A lot of people think that AI is going to replace therapists. It's not going to happen, at least in the next 10 to 15 years. I can tell that to you for sure, number one. But number two, I'll tell you very practically that how AI is helping therapists. When you go to a therapist, okay, a lot of times you don't know whether the therapist is right for you or not, and even the therapist does not know whether they would be the right therapist for you or not. They only come to know it after the first session. Okay, now you imagine if 1 crore people need help, and they, out of 1 crore, let's say 80% people end up going to the wrong therapist. So that makes it 80 lakh of first sessions going to waste. So what is AI doing? AI is taking prior information about the user's behaviors. They are understanding the users in a much better way so that this all can be communicated to a therapist even before the session happens, right? And
Makes
that helps both the ends to make a decision whether this would be the right case for the therapist to take up or not. So it is making therapists much more efficient. The efficacy of therapists are becoming much better. So that is how, in a way, it is affecting like it's basically positively impacting the job of the therapist.
Yeah, that seems makes sense. Absolutely. I think also we have a question here from I think a student. So they are asking, how can we get access to mental health support with budgetary constraints? Because availing therapies in India is difficult since they are
Yeah.
actually expensive. Expensive.
Yeah. So, Vivan, thank you for that question. My suggestion is two things. This, either the school or university that you are in, somehow or the other, indirectly, please communicate to them that now it has become compulsory for your university slash your school legally to provide you complimentary mental health support. If they're not doing that, please ask your teachers, your principals, whoever it is, to get a partner to do that for you so that you don't have to pay it from your pocket. Second is the ones that there are still organizations. I mean, MindPeers is one such organization where you, irrespective of whichever kind of therapy you take, our therapies are at only rupees 500 for a session. So there are other organizations, there are government organizations who provide it even for free or they provide it at a low cost. But foremost, I will request you that if your school slash university does not have it, please ask them to implement it because legally it has now become compulsory for them to provide these services to you.
Absolutely, yes, that is something that we need to take note on. So Chetna here is asking that as an HR in a company, what initiatives can I take to improve the mental well-being of the employees?
Chetna, great question. There are lots and lots of things you can do. My list is endless because we work very closely with HRs. We work very closely with big organizations, SME startups. But here are three things that I'm going to tell you. Please start number one by educating your leaders. Tell your leaders, train your leaders how to become more empathetic, how to become more kind, get their trainings done where they can be, where they understand psychological first aid, where they learn to recognize that if a team member or if their subordinates are going through something, how should they address it? It all starts from top to bottom. Okay. So you need to make your leaders more educated. Second thing I would say is, Chetna, bring vulnerability in the organization. What does vulnerability mean? You can organize, let's say, monthly sessions where their employees, leaders get together, right, in batches of 10 people, 20 people, and there is no work agenda or anything, but they get together to basically discuss vulnerability. What does vulnerability mean? For example, I practice this thing called Friday reflections in my office. So whatever has happened with me in the week, I openly share it with my team for them to know that hey, even my leader can have my leader can have bad times. So if I will tell someone that hey, this work made me anxious, or I was so overwhelmed that I could not sleep, my employees will start to relate with me more. So try to bring a culture of vulnerability. And third, if you do not already have tools or platforms that are available for basic support for your employees, please start to implement them. Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
these would be the three things that I would say.
that is actually very good. Okay, so here we have another question. Anushka Prakash, she's asking, what is your take on healthy boundaries in a relationship? Because in India it can be very difficult to kind of
Oh,
establish boundaries
yeah.
with whether it be family, friends, partner. So, what do you think
Anushka,
about that?
beautiful question. I can take whole one day to tell you about boundaries. Okay. See, if you're asking me what is my take in terms of my belief in it, I'm full for it. People call me rebel because I'm very strict about my boundaries, whether be it with my parents, with my partner, or even with my colleagues for that matter. Right? Setting boundaries, having them, executing them is on us. We should never blame others that someone crossed the boundary. So I'll give you an example here, Anushka. If you are letting your boss or if you're letting work calls happen at 9 p.m., it is because you gave them the space to do that. If from day one, or if let's say you make it clear that look, 9 p.m. is my family time, it's my dinner time, I'm not going to take any calls. That's a boundary you are setting for yourself, right? Another example I want to give you of personal relationships is simple way is giving space to your partner and asking, I mean, telling your partner that I need my space. There are certain hobbies that I love to do which you might not share with me. That's setting a healthy personal boundary, right? And the easiest one, yet the most difficult one to do, Anushka, it all starts from knowing how to say no. You always don't
Absolutely.
have to be a people pleaser, and you don't always have to say yes to everything. That's where that's where the start of healthy boundaries happen.
Absolutely. Here's hoping Anushka gets to decondition herself to this and establish good boundaries, healthy boundaries. Okay, so there's another question from Manas Tiwari. The field of quantifying mental health wellness is in a very nascent stage right now. How do you see the acceptance of quantifiable mental health reports to grow in the near future? Do you believe it could be a benchmark score like diagnostics, which could be as freely utilized as any other diagnostic tool? And also, as the measurable mental health wellness field grows, it is only natural that a number of benchmarks would be developed over time. What are your thoughts regarding that?
Manas, I truly feel because we are doing something like this, my belief is it's only going to increase and it will be whole accepted. And I'll tell you the reason for it, right? People like you and me today, if I tell you, Manas, go and get a test done, your first question will be why? You want a rational, logical reason to it, correct? If I tell you that, Manas, you need to take this medicine or you need to take this blood test, your question always will be, why am I doing it? What is the rational or the logic behind this? So the reason why mental health was never accepted was, or let's say even today, if my therapist tells me that, oh, Kanika, you should do this. Or let's say if I'm crying, whenever, I ask myself, why is this happening to me? What is happening scientifically inside my brain, right?
Right.
So as our generations become more driven by science, by technology, Gen Zs and millennials, they love to have logic behind everything. So every consumer is now seeking validation, is now seeking a logic behind the solutions, behind technology, behind healthcare, and because of that, right? The acceptance of quantifying mental health is going to be huge. People have been just waiting for it to come. Okay. And do I believe it could be a benchmark? Definitely. अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इतने टेस्ट एग्जिस्ट करते हैं. अगर आपको एंजाइटी है, आप थेरेपिस्ट ए के पास गए, वो आपको कोई टेस्ट दे देंगे. डी के पास गए तो उनका टेस्ट कुछ बहुत ही डिफरेंट टेस्ट है डायग्नोस्टिस का. So you don't know which is the right thing because there are no standardizations. And then that's where organizations like ours, or there are so many other organizations even globally, who are trying to standardize the whole process, right? So अभी तो ये बहुत early stage पे है, but this is how the benchmarks is going to come. So I mean, what you've written also, I completely agree to it, and it's going to have a huge aspect.
Standardization is absolutely the need of the hour. I think there are so many people just making use of these loopholes because of the lack of standardization in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I seem to have missed a question. So this is from Sachin. It says, I am a young working professional and I have this constant anxiety about how to succeed, especially when you see people younger than you on social media doing so much. How should I deal with this kind of anxiety?
सच में सबसे कॉमन एंजाइटी है क्योंकि हमने बड़े होते हुए एंड आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी आई एम गोना से दिस इन अ मिक्स्ड वे व्हाइल ग्रोइंग अप हमें सिखाया यही गया है कि देखो वो कितना अच्छा कर रहे हैं तुम क्या कर रहे हो राइट आवर सोसाइटी हैज टॉट अस हाउ टू ओनली कंपेयर राइट डैड्स मॉम देखते थे कि अरे नेबर का बच्चा 90 मार्क्स से आए तुम 89 क्यों
Yes.
लाए
Right.
so we have grown up comparing ourselves but when you know that this comparing is giving you anxiety. Why are you doing that? We are far behind that time now, Sachin, that where we say that, hey, I'm 25 and I should have a great job. I'm 29, I should be married by now. Gone are those days where, this is what our society taught us, but it is not common anymore. Today, I openly tell people I'm 32 and I'm happily unmarried, right? Who is defining what you are supposed to do in life at what age. No one is defining that for you, right? So why are you comparing yourself with the younger generation? I started entrepreneurship when I was 24, but आज मैं देखती हूँ कि I go to universities, people have started entrepreneurship in year one. Please do entrepreneurship or please do anything because you want to do it. Don't do it just because the others are doing it. ये तो नेचुरल सी चीज है कि हमें एंजाइटी होगी अगर हम देख रहे हैं कि अरे लोग कितना कुछ कर रहे हैं, right? You have your own journey in life. You have your own path. You have your own likes and dislikes. When something is has then something has to happen, it will happen. Your job is only to do hard work and to be focused and to be true and to be kind.
Very true.
Yeah. So don't compare. जितना कंपेयर करोगे उतनी एंजाइटी होगी.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Well, Kanika, it has been great talking to you. Honestly, super enlightening, very, very insightful. You said a lot of things that need to be said more, I would say, and it was great. Honestly, I really hope that this kind of conversation keeps happening and mental health evolutionizes into something that's understood by everyone. So we will be ending the session here. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Megha, and the team. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and congratulations on the success of the festival as well. It's a great way to, just spread awareness about so many different topics. So, congratulations and thanks once again, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.